listening to a Hope 1032 podcast.
I'm Collett Smart, and I'm a psychologist, a teacher, and your host on Raising Teens. I'm also a parent, and I'm in the middle of raising my own teens and young adult children. I know that raising teens can be fun and busy, but also terrifying and even lonely. I've experienced all of these emotions, sometimes in the same day. On this podcast, I'm joined by well-known experts, and we chat about some of the most common questions I get asked about raising teenagers in my own work, and even some questions I have myself. I have such hope for this generation of young people, so each episode is full of support and practical advice. I love seeing all your questions come in, so each season I focus on some that teachers, parents, and carers have raised. We're all caring for the teens we love so much, so please keep sending in your ideas and questions through my Instagram and Facebook page or via the Hope 1032 podcast webpage, so we can support this generation of teens together. Hello and welcome to this week's mini episode on mental health. So given it's Mental Health Month, and also that I chatted with Graeme Cowan, the co-founder and board member of Are You OK? In last week's episode, I thought I would use some of the resources from Are You OK? As part of my chat with you this week. So today I want to focus on what we could say or do when a teen tells us they are not okay. Or what if your teen says they are okay, but you aren't very sure that they actually are? Of course, it's not unusual for our teens to be moody or feel sad, stressed, angry, even anxious every now and then. As adults, we're the same. We have lots of daily ups and downs. But for our teens, I think we need to remember that their brains are going through massive changes and they're learning to do really hard things. Our brains experience anxiety to keep us safe. So, for example, your brain might be telling you, don't go down that dark alley at 2 a.m. in the city. That kind of anxiety is very important. It keeps us alive. For our teens, they may grieve the loss of a friend or grieve having to move cities or move schools, or feel really sad when a friend moves schools or moves away. These emotions are just part of being a human being. But sometimes our young people battle mental health struggles that are a lot more than just daily life's ups and downs. The thing is, parents will often say to me, how do I know when to step in? How do I know when there's a difference between daily life ups and downs, as you call them, and something that could be a mental health challenge? You've heard me say lots of times on the podcast, I truly believe that you know your teen better than anyone. What you will be looking for are changes to what you consider normal for your teen. Here are 6 things that you can look out for. The first one might be you think to yourself, they're just different somehow. You're noticing changes to your teen's behavior or their mood that affects their everyday life, but over a longer period of time. We usually say around 2 weeks when we're seeing changes in behavior and we're looking at a mental health challenge. Usually as a psychologist, when I see a teenager or an adult who's struggling with their mental health, it's actually been a lot longer than 2 weeks. We've seen it going on for months. But as a parent, for a 2-week or longer period, you've seen a lot more of a pattern in changes to their mood or behavior to how you've known your teen to be before. So a chatty teen might be more withdrawn, or they might be snappier, more irritable. Perhaps they're crying more often. You might even see anger outbursts in some teens. And a few might engage in what we call risky behaviors. And I will cover those in some of the other points. The second point is they've stopped showing up. So essentially, you have a teen who stops going out with their mates, particularly if they're a social teen and they love going out every weekend or a few times a week, and suddenly they're just not wanting to be social anymore. You might have a teen who's more of an introvert and going out once or twice a month is normal for them. So that wouldn't raise flags for you. But you might have a teen who's been very sporty and they're wanting to just sleep in more than even go to their soccer game, which they usually love and you can't keep them away from. They might talk about wanting to stay off school all the time or talking about being sick all the time or feeling sick. They might even begin to change or cancel their plans last minute. So intended to go out and then they keep canceling to just rather stay home or just watch more Netflix or sleep or whatever it might be, but just not going out like they used to. This is because mental ill health drains your energy. They might not feel like they want to put on a brave face for everyone when they go out. The third one is changes in appetite. So you might see a teen eating more or eating less than usual. So the teen might skip meals or not want to eat the types of food that they used to eat or not wanting to eat nutritious food that they had been okay eating before. They might be eating food for comfort when their mood is low. You might even see signs of restricting their food or becoming obsessive about certain foods. And those could be signs of an eating disorder. We've discussed eating disorders before in the podcast, so you can find a link to that in the show notes. The next point is negative talk. So you might hear your teen using phrases like, life is just so pointless, or I don't think anyone would miss me if I even disappeared, or I feel so empty and alone, or this is so worthless, or I don't even want to be here anymore. It can be a bit of a shock when you hear your teen talk like this, and it doesn't always mean they feel suicidal, but it can be a very big waving red flag that there are struggles in their mental health. So they might be saying, I need someone to understand how bad I feel. I need someone to listen to what I'm feeling. So it's really important that we don't just lash out or tell our teens to stop being silly or to look at what you've got in life and just be grateful. That just makes our teens feel guilty and really unheard when we lash out like that. We might ask questions more like, so can you tell me a little bit more about that? Or what do you mean when you say it's worthless? We also have an episode on talking to teens who struggle with suicidal thinking, so you can find that in the show notes as well. The fifth point is substance abuse signals. So that would be drinking more, taking drugs, the kind of risky behaviors, particularly that you haven't seen before. And this is often a form of trying to forget or trying to cope with their feelings when they do what we call self-medicating, trying to numb those feelings or feel that quick sense of euphoria when you try a drug or alcohol for a little while. And then the last point is tiredness. Of course, teens love to sleep. I love a nana nap probably more than most people, but our teens love to sleep and they like to go to bed late. That's just part of teen makeup very often. But when we see our teens sleeping more than usual, and they never seem to feel rested despite sleeping more, and we also can see in some teens insomnia. So they might fall asleep and then wake up in the middle of the night and lie there because they're often worrying or ruminating, going over and over on thoughts about the day or what could go wrong, and lie awake for long periods, struggling to fall back asleep. Some will lie awake before they are able to fall asleep for long periods and only eventually fall asleep at midnight or 1 a.m, and then they're really exhausted the next day. So we're looking for changes in patterns of healthy sleep. So as Graeme mentioned in the last episode, what do we do when we notice some of these signs in our teens? So what we do is we keep checking in. Even if your teen says they're okay and you're still concerned, you tell them, I'm here to talk to you whenever you need me. I'm going to keep checking on you, even if you get annoyed, because I love you. Some teens like to text or write down how they feel. And if that is the way they like to communicate, embrace that, lean into that. Give your teen permission to do that if that is an easier way for them to communicate with you. When they do talk, listen actively. So let your body language show you're listening. Put things down that you're doing. Lean in metaphorically. It doesn't always have to be physically, but let your body show that you are leaning in and listening to what they have to say and that what they say is important. Graeme said it's important to walk with people sometimes side by side or sit in the car, particularly for some teens if listening face to face is confronting. Some teens love us to sit on the edge of their bed in the dark when they can talk without feeling like we're analyzing their every word and their facial expression. It's important when they do talk to avoid phrases like, oh, just cheer up, or it's all going to work out fine in the end. It may, but they don't need to hear that from us. They need us to acknowledge and say things like, wow, that sounds really hard for you, or that sounds really difficult right now. It's important then to offer practical support. So help where we can with chores or small things while our teens are going through really difficult times, but then encouraging them to seek professional support. So rather than saying you need support, which may make some teens feel like they're weak or they're not good enough, I love to use Michelle Mitchell's phrase, you deserve support. So can we make an appointment for you to talk to our GP first? Remind your teens about Kids Helpline and remind them that they are not alone. Thank you for joining me for today's mini episode. If you are looking for some of the information we chatted about today, you can find the links in the show notes. I hope to see you next episode, but in the meantime, keep parenting with your teens' future adults in mind.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.